One of the things that we hear most financial advisors and planners say, whether you're new or been in the game for a long time, is that it's really been a struggle of late in order to find not just new clients, but the right new clients. And today we're delving a little bit into how we can simplify our entire lead gen process. And I've got lots of strategies that I'm going to share with you, one-to-one strategies, one-to-many strategies, advocacy strategies, and there's even two bonus ones that I'm going to throw in today. So looking forward to a great discussion, but let's get started for today. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate it. I don't even know if you were able to hear the intro or not. Doesn't matter. Anyway, thank you, Terence. I see you were phoning. Alrighty. So anyway, what I was saying is that I've got Nikki McDonald with me this morning, and she's going to do current affairs. And then we have Ichnu today with Change Your Angle. And he's back for his first segment this year. And he's got a very interesting story. Are you a miner or a poet working in a mine? So really looking forward to that. I'm going to share with you a bit of a quick tech tip. And then we are going to get into the show because I'm talking lead gen today. So everything I said a little bit earlier, you did not hear. So we're talking about lead generation, looking forward to that. And yeah, it's just one of those mornings. But anyway, so let me say a warm good morning and thank you to everybody that's been phoning me and saying, Francois, we can't hear you. Appreciate that. What's up? Says Terence. Good morning, Terence. Nice. Enjoy your coffee. Yes, I'm waiting. My coffee is on its way. So I'm definitely going to just look at how red my eyes is. I did not get lots of sleep these last 2 weeks. So it's definitely catching up. Mr. Mark Weston Ford. Good morning. Good morning, Kobus. Nice to see you. We've got Jaco Ritz. Good morning. Nice to see you. Salome, good morning. Nice to see you as well. Johan Bassones is good morning. Johan Potgieter, nice to see you as well. Mr. David Kopp, who celebrated his birthday, his 25th birthday yesterday. Good morning, David. Thank you very much for joining us. Mr. Neil Phillips, good morning. Nice to see you. Harry Nell. Grant Neil and Nell, goeiemorgen. We've got Johan Peens in the house. Good morning, Johan. And Razan, good morning. Nice to see you as well. Lihana, good morning. Dr. Rufaru, good morning. Vivian, good morning. Nice to see you as well. Alice, good morning. Welcome. We've got Stephen in the house. Mr. Craig Finch. We've got Julie. Wow, so many people. Thank you so much for saying hi. We've got Adrian Jordan. Good morning, Adrian. So yeah, but yes, sorry for the no sound, guys. I'm not sure. Can you just let me know in the comments? Could you hear the intro before we played the video? Did you hear that? Or was it only once I switched on that you actually heard anything? So please let me know in the comments. But anyway, without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, here we go. Nikki McDonald. Nikki, I hope your sound is switched on this morning. And let's hear what the latest is in the news.
Good morning, Francois and everybody. Yes, if you can just let me hear, if you can hear me, because yeah, it seems to be one of those mornings where technology doesn't play with us well. So this week, as everybody know, was budget week. And although we expected, a budget that was a bit lackluster, there really wasn't much in that budget that we could deal with. So I think the big thing in the financial planning space is that it gave us some, security on what is going to happen with the two-pot system this year. We have all been wondering, is it going to be the 1st of March? Is it going to be the 1st of September? Is it going to be the 1st of March next year? But it seems that they have decided that two-pot will now be introduced from the 1st of September 2024. Now, what's interesting that they said in the budget is that government actually expects to raise an additional 5 billion in the 2024 tax year from taxpayers who are going to make use of the once-off withdrawals from their retirement saving. Now try and work that back to a marginal tax rate. And then I think the fund managers, the administrators, SARS is going to be inundated with withdrawals that's going to happen from the 1st of September onwards. So let's hope all the systems are already in place at that time. If you haven't seen it and you are part of a fund, the FSCA announced last week that there were a set of rules out on fund changes that will have to be made in terms of the two-pot system. So go have a look at that on their website. So they announced on how they will be dealing with the deluge that is coming their way. In any case, if we go back to the two-pot system, Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana has heeded calls from the public to hasten the process where people can access a portion of their retirement savings, hence the implementation date of the 1st of September and not waiting until the 1st of March next year. So as everybody knows, how will two-pot work? Contributions to retirement funds will be split. 1/3 going into a savings pot, 2/3 going in a savings pot will be available for withdrawals prior to retirement, and the amount in the retirement pot will remain protected until you retire. The seed capital amount was also lifted a little bit from the initial 25,000 that they indicated, and is now sitting on a final amount of 30,000 Rand. So what is the seed capital amount? So they will look at your fund value on the 31st of August 2024, and 10% of that fund value will be your seed capital amount. 10% up to a maximum of 30,000 Rand. So that means if you have got 300,000 Rand in your fund on the 31st of August, 30,000 Rand of that will be moved into the savings pot, and you will be allowed to withdraw that once a year. Withdrawal might take place. And obviously that withdrawal will be taxed at marginal tax rates. What we are doing from the FPI side at this point in time is that we are recording videos for consumers to guide them to financial planners and advisors. We are trying to make it clear that it's not just the fact that you are withdrawing the fund and it is taxed at your marginal tax rate, but also the impact that it will have on your retirement savings that will be implicated. So we are really trying to drive employees and people who are going to be affected by this to professional financial planners and financial advisors so that they can get the help and the planning that they need. So keep an eye open on FBI social media for the videos and the tips and the ideas that we're going to share there. It'll absolutely be aimed at consumers, and you will be very welcome to share that with everyone that you encounter. And then our financial advisors and financial planners obviously has to have some tax tips for the year end, given that you've only got 6 days until the 29th of February. So remember to take care of the following, not just for your clients, but also for yourself. Maximize your contributions to registered PBOs to increase your Section 18A tax deduction this year if you have not already done so. Remember to look at your retirement savings contributions and increase that to a maximum of 27.5% of taxable income or remuneration, or then 350,000 max if you have not done so already. That can make quite a big dent in the amount of tax that you pay at the end of the year. So contribute your 36,000 to a tax-free savings account if you have not already done so. And then the two that is sometimes left behind, remember that you've got 100,000 donation tax exemption per year. If you have not used it, you've got 6 days to do so. And the last one that is also important, if you are trustee of a trust or involved in a trust, make sure that your trust resolutions for distributions in this tax year are finalized in this week, because otherwise you have missed the cutoff date. So, on that note, I just want to remind you that our annual refresher in person is starting next week. Tuesday in Cape Town and Thursday in Durban. The week after that will be Johannesburg, and then there will be also be a virtual annual refresher. We have got brilliant speakers. As you know, annual refresher is quite a technical update, which we need once a year with all the changes in legislation and everything else that is happening that we might have missed. Wessel Oosthuizen, Errol Meyer, Lelani Besaidnout, and others will be speaking to you. So if you still want to register for that, this is your very last chance. So please assist us in joining us for the annual refresher. I think it is in everybody's best interest to do so, especially on the technical side. Thank you very much, Francois, and have a lovely weekend, everybody.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Nikki. And it took me yesterday a whole hour to take people through the budget, and you do it in 5 minutes. Superpowers. Thank you very much. Really appreciate that. Yes, obviously, sorry for the sound right in the beginning. What we are talking about today is lead gen, because that's the one thing that comes up more often than not in conversations. Doesn't matter where people are in their journey, whether you're new or whether you've been around for a long time, finding not just new clients, but the right clients has really been a challenge for many. So today I'm going to share with you some strategies, and we're looking at an array of different strategies. So you'll find something that'll work for you. We're looking at one-to-one, one-to-many, advocacy, and there's also 2 bonus ones that is going to be very powerful. And I might be sharing some keys to success as well a little bit later on. So just wanted to make sure you know why you're here and what you can expect from today's show. But next up, we have Ignu with Change Your Angle. And he's talking be, do, have. Are you a minor? Like, not younger than 18, but a minor? Or are you a poet working in a mine? So Ignu, if you're ready, I'm ready. Looking forward to your segment, and welcome to 2024, Ignu.
Hello, Francois, and good morning, everybody. Wishing you a super 2024. Yes, be, do, have. Have you ever attended a conference? As you sit there, you can just let us know in the text chat if you've ever attended a conference and listened to a motivational speaker, because today you're going to have the benefit of having all those motivational speeches condensed into the next 2 minutes. Because the speaker will always come. Maybe they climb mountains, maybe they beat drugs, whatever it is. There's a metaphor for something you want to have in your life, and so they tell you, this is what I have. Would you like to have it? And then we all sort of agree, yes, I would like to have the resilience or the fuss bait or whatever it is that you call it that this person has. And then he says, well, this is what I did, and then you can do it. And now I am happy, and I am on the stage, and all those kind of things. So it's about, what do you want to have? What do you need to do to get it? And then you'll be whatever it is that you want to be. So it's always have, want to have something, got to do something, then will be something, which is absolutely, wonderfully, superbly wrong. Because it works the other way around. Just imagine, it's still, because think about this. If you are what you have and you lose what you have, who are you? If you are what you do and you lose what you do, who are you? Many people are almost married to their position. If they lose the position, they get devastated. But if you are who you are, no one can take that away, except maybe if you get ill or sort of dementia or something, you might lose a bit of that identity. So what I want to ask you today is, have you decided what to be happy? I ask people often, are you content? Are you happy? They say, I will be shortly after the election. I will be when I retire. I will be whenever. But then so much of your being is an aspiring to become something that you don't enjoy who you are at the moment. And that's why I want to give you the poet, the metaphor of a poet in the mine. So there's a poet who'd like to be a poet. He wants to be a poet, but he's a miner. He absolutely hates every morning that he has to go down into the darkest, deepest corridors of the mind where he is afraid, he doesn't like it, it's sweating, it's hot, it's horrible. And he wants to be a poet. So every day as he sits there in the lift, goes down into the mine, he says, I wish I can be a poet. And then one morning he decides, you know what? I'm going to be a poet working in a mine. So he's still a miner, but now he's a poet. Now suddenly he's got the benefits that no other poet has. He knows the mines from inside out. He writes poetry about his fellow miners. He writes poetry about the dark corridors of the mine. He writes incredible poetry because he's made a decision as to who he is. He's a poet working in a mine. Now, in the industry, sometimes we have wonderful coaches working as financial advisors. We have poets working as financial advisors. We have story creators. We have story participators. We have guides and guards, whatever you want to call yourself. But something that excites you. And I want you to think about this story. And I want you to remember, if you are what you have and you lose what you have, who are you? If you are what you do and you lose what you do, who are you? You are who you are. Have you defined yourself? Do you know what you love to be? And are you that? Thank you so much, Francois, for this morning, and have a lovely weekend, everybody. Enjoy the autumn that's coming.
Thank you so much, Igno. Not just entertaining and valuable, but also always very quick. So thank you very much. Always making sure we stay on track. Thank you very much, Igno. Really appreciate that. That is something massive to reflect on today for me. But thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Next up, I have a quick tech tip. And let's see how quick I can make that and see how practical we can make it, so that we think about technology in the best way. I don't know how you're finding technology at the moment, but for me, it's extremely overwhelming at the moment. So I'm just imagining if someone like me who lives and breathes technology is finding it hard to keep up and to know what to use and what not to use, or even, like, more importantly, how to use it. I can just imagine how many others are feeling that I'm using tech in my business, but it's not really, if I didn't have to, I wouldn't. It's like that kind of thing almost. But for me, when we talk about technology, and this is maybe not the kind of tech tip that you might expect from me, but everything starts with the way that we think about technology, the way that we frame technology, the meaning that we give to technology in our businesses. And there's a couple of things that I just briefly want to share with you. The first one is that technology is simply a tool. It's something that enables us to do things that we are not able to do, like unlock efficiency and productivity, minimize mistakes, automate things so that I can get my time back. It can enhance our value propositions. It can do many, many things that we use it for. But at the end of the day, it is nothing more than a hammer or a spanner or something like that, a car, glasses that you use to see with better. That is what technology is. It's a tool to help us be better. It's a tool to help us achieve what we can't achieve without it. That's all it is. So many of us are older than 35 at the moment. If you're not, then you're very lucky. I would trade places for a week or so. But when we're older than 35, it feels like it's becoming harder for us to learn new technology, to figure new technology out. And I don't really know what it is. Is it because we are getting older? We've done a lot of learning in our lives, and we're done with being frustrated and feeling frustrated with, I don't know how this works. Go back. You see, when a baby is born, it's almost like they were born with the iPad or the iPhone or whatever in their hands, and they know exactly, I've got to scroll with my finger. Whereas, sometimes we still have to read the instruction manual to figure that out. And it's just simply, how it is, because these things existed when they came into the world. For us, for more than 35 years, there wasn't anything like that. And then suddenly there's new technology. So specifically talking about things like AI. where there's a lot happening and it's happening very quickly. And there's a lot of people that are sharing this new tool and that new tool and this can do this. And then you see, oh, it's the death of ChatGPT. Oh, it's the death of Gemini. Oh, it's the death of this and that. And those things irritate me because they are absolutely just meant to grab attention and to get you to click on a video or to read an article or things like that. None of these big technologies are going anywhere. So for me, when we think about technology in our businesses, often we'll feel like, oh, I'm before computers. I still hear that. Oh, it pains me when I hear I'm before computers because it's simply not true. Computers has been around since the 50s. It's not anything new. So if you were born before that, then sure, you're before computers. But other than that, I think it's just a story that we tell ourselves because we find it difficult to learn these new things. At the end of the day, let me get to the point. When we want to implement technology into our businesses, it's very important that we start off with what is the problem and the frustrations and the bottlenecks and the issues in my business. That's all you need to know. You don't even need to think about it from a technology point of view, right? We got to think about what are the pains and the frustrations of our clients. And better yet, we don't just need to think about it. We actually need to go and ask them to say, look, what are your needs? What are your pains? And then once we are very clear on those, and we should never assume that we know because we don't. Just because we've had a 30-year relationship with a client doesn't mean we know them well. Maybe you spend 60 hours with them over 30 years if you've spent 2 hours a year with them. Some of your clients that you're really good friends with, you might have spent more time with. But I don't think we should think that because somebody has been a client for 30 years that we know them well, right? We don't. There's too much that happens in that time frame. So we always need to be asking them like, what are your frustrations? Maybe what can we do better? Where is friction in the system that makes it difficult for you to work with us, et cetera, et cetera. Once we know all of that, then we take that information, we formulate some questions that we could ask about those problems, and we then go to the technology providers and we say to them, right, so how can your system help me alleviate this? And when you go through that, the chances of picking a better system is exponentially higher. And also, suddenly, if it can alleviate those problems, you're going to worry less about what that technology is going to cost you. And it's going to be an investment in your business. But too often we go, so Pity, what are you using? Susie, what are you using? And everybody says the same thing because everybody went for the cheapest option. And then we all use the same thing. And we think that, well, rather the devil we know than the one we don't. But that's a much better place to start off with any technology that you want to choose, whether it's for your personal life or whether it's for this. So one of the things that I've done to minimize the overwhelm is to start looking at only certain technologies and not all of them. So that's something that we want to do this year, is to make sure, how do we simplify tech stacks? How do we make it simpler, use less tech, but we use the tech that is really speaking to the problems that we have. So that's my tech tip for you today. Hope that makes you think. And even if you're using existing tech and systems, maybe go back and think about what are the problems you're having in your business, and then start asking questions to your existing tech provider and see how they can help you. Alrighty, let's do some quick announcements. And while we are talking about technology, let me just put out a short little video this week, about a 2-minute and so video that I WhatsApped to everybody. And I'm not going to play it, don't worry. But I do want to remind you a little bit about Propulsion Tech that's taking place the 9th, 11th, and 16th of April. Propulsion.co.za/tech. If you're not a Propulsion member, you can go and purchase your tickets. We have a special code that will give you 20% discount until the end of February, which is next week, as Nikki did point out. So not only do you need to look at tax and sort of what you can do from that point of view, but also you need to get your ticket if you want to save 20% on that ticket. You can book for your team. You can book for yourself. You can book for a couple of people. All of that you can do on the website. We've done everything. Everything's working smoothly. We've sold a lot of tickets so far, so really, really excited about that. The whole premise of this event is that everybody can come and see what's available. There's 18 providers that will be demoing their tech live over 3 mornings. So we're really looking forward to that. It's only 20-minute demos, so there's only 6 per day. And there's other stuff that happens in between, panel discussions and keynotes and some other fun things. So we're really making a great day of it. We've applied for CPD. So yeah, let's spend some great time together and see exactly how technology can help you and what is available. So if you want to get an overview of the things that are there, and more than half of the tools that we're going to showcase you've never seen before, I can almost guarantee you that. So do join us for Propulsion Tech. Propulsion.co.za/tech. If you are a Propulsion member, you can just go to the Propulsion platform and go and get all the details and your special code, because you've got a different code because you don't pay. You've got a complimentary ticket. So do go check it out if you haven't registered yet. Then what was the other thing? Yes, yesterday I did my annual budget review of the budget speech. So what makes my review a little bit different is that I look at it from a financial advice and planning point of view. The Darby Roots of the world will look at it from an economic point of view and other things. So they delve into numbers and things that I don't. But I look at what are obviously an overview of the changes. We looked at what are the proposals that wasn't mentioned in the speech, what's happening with the financial sector. So we looked at that. And also we looked at of all of the proposals that were made last year that impacts on financial planning, personal financial planning. Which of those made it into law, because this year they actually implemented the law a lot earlier than ever before. It was enacted on the 22nd of December already. So we also went into that. And then obviously I always look for opportunities for financial planning and advice. So I shared a few of those. And so the session that I presented was for one of my clients, and we did record it and we're making it available to our members. So it will be available on the Propulsion platform for members. Cool beansters. The other thing is probably just the day of CPD, but we still need to send out more detail on that. With everything that's been going on and all the traveling, I have not done so, but this is happening on the 23rd of April. So, but look out for more information on that very, very shortly. Ladies and gentlemen, just a big thank you for being here. Thank you for chatting and for saying hi and for sharing your opinions and for supporting what's happening. So really, really appreciate that. But with that, let's get into today's session and let's talk about lead gen and how we can simplify it and share with you some very powerful strategies that work. They work in the day and age that we're in. Righty, let's go. So I've heard many people these days say that everything happens downstream from lead generation. So, if you don't have a pipeline, then for many people that is a problem. Specifically, obviously, if you're early on in building your business or your practice, it makes it difficult if you have one client and then when you're done with that one client, you've got to go find, now you're looking for another client, and then we help that client, and then there's no more clients, and then we go look for a client, and then we help that client. So it's the start, stop all the time. So what you ideally want to do is have a pipeline of clients. Now, depending on where you are in your journey, you might be very well in a mature practice, and obviously then referrals and advocacy is probably the two biggest ones that are still bringing you business. Plus, you are in the fortunate position to be able to say, do I want more clients, yes or no? And you can also be a lot more picky with the types of clients that you want to work with. So very powerful. But there is something there. Now, the one thing that we can't do is stop taking on new clients. So imagine any of the big corporates is saying, we can only handle so many people. We're not taking on anyone. The reality is that clients fall off, clients cancel, clients pass away, clients move. So there's always this need to bring in new and fresh clients. And also, as your expertise evolve and as your business grows, you are able to add more and more value to different kinds of people. So you might want to evolve your business into a different market, or even stay in the same market, but work in a different sector or segment in that specific market because you understand that specific segment. So lead generation is really, really important. And the traditional ways of that we've done this, obviously, is the good old cold calling. And a while back, I still stand by this, that cold calling is dead. Doesn't mean it's dead, but cold calling is definitely something. If I see somebody phoning, I don't know the number, and specifically if it's an 087 number, I just don't answer. So if anybody is listening from all of these short-term insurance companies, please stop calling me. I'm not going to answer. So for me, that's a big reason why, because we're able to screen these calls. We know beforehand who's calling. And the fact that when you say no, thank you, I mean, you can be very polite and very kind and say no, thank you, then why not? Or no, but let me just, like, they don't take no for an answer. So hence, we start avoiding them. So cold calling, there will still be wins in there. But the numbers, I think if you were to compare the number of cold calls you need to make today to get yeses and to get good yeses, is much higher than what it was 10 years ago. So for me, it's definitely a declining thing. And also just remember, it's not just financial advisors calling or just you that's calling. There are plenty of financial advisors calling. And then we have all these direct to consumer businesses that's phoning. And we have all sorts of weird and wonderful things where people are phoning to sell a lot of stuff, right? And they've got these big call centers and that's all they do. So because of that, we are starting to take less and less of those calls. And that's why I'm saying that cold calling, I believe, it's at least dying at the very least. Now, there's many different other ways, because Francois, how else do I get clients? And I did upset a few people when I said that the other day. And that's perfectly fine, because that's my job, is to upset people and to make them think. I don't want to keep them upset, but we definitely want to make sure that they start thinking about this. So if I think about this, I want to start off with just talking a little bit about one-to-one strategy. So this is where it's trying to find one client at a time, right? That's what I mean with one-to-one strategies. And the biggest one of those is definitely cold calling. So this is where you have somebody's details. They have not given you permission to phone them. In South Africa, you must say, but with Poppy and with all of these other things, how are you able to do that? Well, you can contact them once. If they then say they're not interested, you can't contact them again. Again, short-term insurance companies, you must listen. But it is really a personal call to say, look, this is Francois, I'm phoning from X, Y, and Z, and I'm really interested to find out if you're in the market for X, or whether, you have recently reviewed, whatever. Whatever your approach is, or maybe just I just want to share with you what it is that we do, and maybe if there's a need, we can maybe have a further discussion. However you approach this, right? I'm not here to teach you how to do cold calling. I want to talk about the concept of cold calling. But if you do cold calling well, you will research, because there's cold calling and then there's cold calling. So cold calling, when you just have a list of names and numbers and you start phoning them, I think you're going to have less success. If you've done research and you can have a conversation to that person that's personalized to them and their situation. Now, the question will always be is, how did you get hold of this information? That's the big question that you must be able to answer. But if you have that, the cold call becomes so much more effective and so much more powerful. So cold calling is definitely still one of the ways that we do this, but you make one phone call at a time, or you maybe have 1 or 2 or 3 people that make these calls on your behalf, but it's one phone call at a time. So that's there. Then obviously networking. Networking for me, I might be going to events. I might be part of social media groups. I might be doing this on LinkedIn, wherever, building relationships. It's still one person at a time. And it does take a lot of time. But I can use for networking in person and online strategies for this. So I think this is really powerful, but it does take time, because if I meet you at an event, I'm going to have a 5 or a 10-minute conversation with you, which takes time, which is pretty much the same as cold calling. So how many people can I meet during the breaks? How much time can I spend in a day to try and network with people online? So it's a very time-consuming sort of approach. And again, if I talk to 10 people or 100 people, only a small percentage of those will go to the next step. You've always heard that people are saying that this is a numbers game. And it's true. However, I believe that we can seriously change that. And I'll share some strategies for that. The other sort of one-to-one strategy is obviously referrals. If you create a system to encourage clients to give you referrals, and that's a big difference. We're going to talk about advocacy a little bit later, but typically referrals. Yesterday, I was presenting to a group of advisors in Cape Town. And again, some of them said we only do business through referrals. And that's great. It's really, it says something about your business. It says something about the way that you deliver, that there's value and all of those things. But the big thing with referrals is that you need to keep on asking. You need to keep on pushing for referrals. I've never been a big referral fan, because just because I was able to help you doesn't mean I'm going to be able to help the friend or the business partner or whoever it may be. There's too many variables in that. Although overall, people refer people such as themselves usually, which does give it a bigger chance of success. But referrals is definitely one of the things that one can do that, but you need to manage it. And sometimes, I don't know, I think when we talk about referrals, we're talking about you send somebody to me and the only way that I repay is to say thank you. But there's also other referral systems that one can put in place where there's maybe also sharing in fees or finder fees or things like that. There's a professional relationship. So you can either ask your clients to give you referrals, or you can partner up with a strategic partner that service the same type of clients that you work with. And then in that sense, you can also put in some referral arrangement between the two of you, and they could be a commercial part to that as well. So those are the 3 one-to-one strategies. Nothing new there, right? These are things that it blows my mind when I look at or I have conversations with people, or you sit in sessions where people share things like this, and it's like, this doesn't work for me. That doesn't work for me. That doesn't work for me. But other people have built successful businesses using exactly those strategies. But for some reason, it's not going to work for me. For some reason, it's not going to work for my clients. That I managed to find that one niche in the world that nothing works for it. Like, I've got to figure out what the thing is. We haven't found it yet, but I've got to think about it. Instead of saying, well, okay, so, cold calling for me, that's how I started in this business. I'm comfortable to do it. I'm actually good at it. I'm going to do that a lot. And maybe for some of you, you don't end up in a corner with a coffee like me. You like to actually go and talk to people at a networking event or at an event and just connect with them. But there's a few things that's important there. And then also the referral thing. So these one-to-one strategies are not new. The only thing that I would probably add to that is just sort of that I mentioned on a networking briefly, is that you could do this online as well. So you can use something like LinkedIn, for example, to build a network and to connect with people, to learn a lot about them, because people make a lot of information available on LinkedIn about themselves. So think about the cold calling thing, where you can use almost combine networking and cold calling in a sense to do that. So think about how you can also blend some of these strategies and make it work for you. So those are the one-to-one strategies. Just lastly, cold calling, networking, and referrals. But then I want to get to my favorites, which is one-to-many. And why one-to-many is so powerful, or why I love it so much, is because of an experience that I had in 2016. So 2016, I'm coming back from PE, presented some training there. And the night before I come back, I get this call to say, Francois, tomorrow morning when you land at our Tambo, we are going to pick you up in an Uber. And I'm like, what is an Uber? We're going to pick you up in an Uber, and we're going to drop you at a company that's right next to the airport. And you need to go and present about these people's pension funds and also their retirement options, etc. And I said, yeah, no problem. So they sent me the stuff. I looked at it the morning before, got there, did 2 presentations. One presentation was to a group that was further than 5 years from retirement. And there was another group that was within 5 years of retirement. So it was pretty much the same session. The only difference is that for the group that were close to retirement, we also focused on the retirement income options, which is something I still do today to help people make that decision. So it's really important that, you tailor your messages. We'll get to that. Anyway, so I did this presentation. I'm there. The advisor from the company is also there. And he's just sitting there next to me, and I'm doing all the talking, explaining, answering questions and stuff. And in this group of people, there were quite a few executives from this business. It was quite a big business. And 3 of them came to me afterwards to say, Francois, I'm retiring in 3 years. I'm retiring in 3 months. I'm retiring next year. And I don't have anybody who's looking at my stuff. I don't know what to do. Can I talk to you about this? And I'm like, sorry, I'm only here as a facilitator, but there's Mr. Advisor, so they can help you. And then they walk out the door right between the 2 of us every single time. Now, what was the lesson there? Not that I shouldn't have said, go and talk to that. I didn't have a choice. go and talk to them. But when you're the one that is standing up there talking to a group of people, inevitably in that group, there's people who resonate with what you say, with how you say it, that feel that this applies to them and that they can work with you. That's the power. So instead of me having to do one-on-one, so imagine there were 30 people in a session and I had to speak one-on-one to them to find the 3 people. How much time would that take me? 30 hours? If it's an hour each, maybe sometimes we can very quickly determine that somebody isn't a good fit. And even if we look at their information, we might just decide not even to talk to them at all. But that's the important thing. So now I spoke to 30 people all at once and 3 come and talk to me. So you filtered out 27 other people by doing that. And this is the power of one-to-many strategies, is that you want to be talking to many people at a time. And there's some very powerful things that I want to share with you that's working really well. And it's worked in my business. It has changed my business. And now I'm not a financial advisor, but I'm telling you, if it does that for my business, if you really look at the mechanics of my business, it's not much different from what you do. It's not much different from the kind of business you're doing. So it doesn't matter what kind of professional you are. If it's a service-based business, this is something that can be extremely powerful. So the first one, and this is something that people say, but hasn't it been done? But they're not going to ask exactly the same question around cold calling. Don't you think it's been done too much now? Yet you still believe that cold calling is the way. So the first one is live, very important, live, like we're doing right now, live online webinars. And there are webinars and there are webinars, right? There's the American way of doing webinars, which is absolutely aimed at selling. Then there's the other kind of webinar that I profess and that I'm talking about. And that is to have this online webinar where you talk about a specific topic. I mean, just think about all of the questions you're getting from your existing clients. That's what's top of mind. These are the things that you get over and over and over with. But the reason why you get it over and over and over is because it is top of mind for people. It's really an issue. So if you take one of those questions, or maybe 3 or 5 of those questions, and you put together a webinar where you talk about this and you give examples and you educate people through that, you'll be amazed at what comes off the back of that. You don't have to sell. You can obviously say, look, I mean, if you want to talk about your specific situation, here's where you can go book time with me, or, here's how you can get in touch with us, or let us know and we will contact, however you want to approach that. But for me, the webinar is not a hard sell. It's not these, typical structured where people go like, this is who I am. This is my backstory. Here's a couple of things where I say a lot of things without saying a lot of things. And then we sell you on our big product hard. That's not how I would do this. So online webinars, it's very cheap to do. You can do it at any time, right? You can record it, which means you've got more things that I'm going to talk about a little bit later that's also valuable. So it's just a win-win-win. You've got so much content that you can use through marketing for anything else as well, although these things are marketing in essence. But online live webinars. And the other thing you can also do live online, and just think about what we do, right? We put on a lot of events. So Propulsion Tech is coming up in April. We've got the Global Financial Planning Conference in June. We've got Ascend in July. We've got the quarterly days of CPDs. So all of these are events that are happening online. And the question might be, Francois, what is the difference between an online webinar and an online event? The difference is that at an event, you may tackle multiple things. So, for example, if you think about the tech event, it's longer in duration than a webinar, number 1. 2, there's keynotes. 3, there's panel discussions. 4, there's demos. And 5, there's these fun little segments where we do some challenges and shootouts and stuff. So it's entertaining. There's a variety of things, even though it might all be related to technology, like your stuff will be all related to financial planning or retirement planning or investment planning, or whatever it may be for you. And that's what you're going to focus on. But within that, there's so many different things, and you can bring in outside people to come and talk. So it's an event, right? It's like going to something. You create an experience off of that. A webinar is much more focused on just educating on one specific thing for that webinar. So you might have multiple webinars, but you'll focus on one specific thing in a webinar in order to sort of address that. So these are 2 things you can do. And you can even sell tickets to those events, right? Not to make money off of it, but to get commitment. It's the most amazing thing. When we do things for free, loads of registrations. I mean, I saw with the budget speech again, You get 120 people registering and 50 showing up because it's free. I didn't commit. Then we sell tickets to other things, you know, and only 50 people book and pay, but every single one of them show up. So you can think about it. If you want to build your email list and your distribution, then it's fine if the other 70 people don't show up because you have their details. You can continue to communicate with them if they gave you permission. So there's other benefits off of it. So it just depends on what you want to do. How do you approach that? The webinars I'll definitely do for free. Events, you have a choice between doing them for free and then sort of paying or getting people to buy tickets to that. Anyway, so one too many, people build a relationship with you. Video is one of the number one things that people and Razan shared this week in a session that we did together, that how much video has grown, and specifically from an educational point of view in South Africa, how many people are doing that as a primary sort of thing. So having that, being able to see me on screen, to look into my red eyes, you build a relationship with me. That's the amazing thing. Yesterday, again, people were hugging me and saying hello, and it's not about me, but it's they feel like they know me so well, and it's humbling because lots of people can see me. I can't see anybody. I can only see my camera. So it's really, really powerful what this kind of stuff does from that point. The third one, for one too many, which is something, if you're not doing it, you should definitely consider doing it. And a lot of these things I'll actually start off doing for my existing clients and not necessarily just new clients, because the one thing that we believe is that, we've done all the business in the world with our clients and therefore they're not going to do more business. I know. The problem is that we haven't given them new information. We haven't asked different questions. We haven't shown them new things. And therefore, they don't know that they have a problem. We don't know that there's opportunity to help them. And then we start chasing other people. So the other reason why we'd want to start off with existing clients is because you already have a relationship with them. It's a lot less daunting and scary to do a webinar for your existing clients than it is for people that you don't know at all, because there's lots of things involved in these things. But the third thing, that if you're not doing this, is you have to have a podcast. I think podcasts are phenomenally powerful. This show is what saved my business. And I wasn't intentional about anything around that. It was that one thing that I did just simply because I didn't know what the hell else to do. But that's the power of this. It's got nothing to do with Francois, but it was lockdown and everybody was available to watch. Only Terence Tobin showed up on day one. We still had to get the word out. We still had to be consistent. We still had to do all of those things in order to build a bit of an audience. But the power of this, and you never know how far these things reach. Yesterday, somebody was saying to me, I was saying, hello, I'm Francois. I says, you don't have to tell me who you are, propulsion. And I'm like, holy shit. Sorry for that. That's the power. These are things that work for you when you don't. It's things that doesn't stop when you do. And what can you do in these podcasts? Well, one, you can talk about, again, questions that you get from clients. You can do the same thing that you do in webinars, maybe in a shorter form. You can have guests. Like 75% of the top podcasts in the world get guests. I mean, I just look at the feedback for this show, for example. People are asking me or saying you're great and whatever, but it's better when you have guests. Like, I get that feedback. So that's why we've got a variety of things that we're doing, because I still have a message that I want to get out. I want people to know what I think and the opinions that I have and sort of the way that I view the world. But then we bring in guests to talk about that and get their views on it, which is then more valuable. And all of this you can do and a podcast doesn't have to be half an hour or 2 hours or anything like that. It can be 10 minutes. It can be 5 minutes. It's like there's no limit. It can be as long as it needs to be, but it's very simple to do. And it's really cheap to run a podcast. Then the other thing that for one too many strategy, and I'm a big proponent for this, or I don't know what you'll call that. So we spoke about virtual online events, but client events. There's a difference. If I say an online live event, I'm talking about something that talks about specific topics, etc. But then you have client events, and client events are very much aimed at saying thank you, in my opinion. It's an appreciation event. And you can do these virtually if you want, but you can also do them in person. There are some of the FSPs that I work with that do this without stopping because the value just far outweighs the cost. So when last did you have a client event? Think about what you do at those. It's not to market your services. It's not to promote whatever. Yeah, you can get somebody to come and talk about the markets, etc. But why don't we rather talk about the value that they bring to your business? Why don't we rather talk about, what's top of mind for them and sort of use that as an opportunity? So it's really one of those things. The other type of client event you can obviously have is more of a marketing flavor where you say, well, bring a friend, whatever. It's meant to meet new people. But client events are underutilized completely. And also you can get product providers involved if you want and see how you can get them to help you fund these things, because those in-person events are a little bit more pricey, and they're also a little bit more, there's more logistics and things that goes with it. But definitely something that's very useful. The last one-to-many strategy that I want to share with you is education. Do you have educational content available? Whether it's short little bits that you can send via WhatsApp, or whether you have your own LMS, or maybe you just make these things available for free on a YouTube channel or on your website, wherever. But what are you doing from an educational point of view where somebody says, you know what, I'm interested in learning, I want to buy a new car. What is the process I need to go through? You can structure that into a bit of an educational thing, and you can be presenting that, right? And again, all of these things you can probably do in other forms as well, but again, video, because some of these things you want to do live and you can, or you want to have things that work while you're sleeping. So I go and look for something, I find what Francois is saying about this, and I consume this and the next thing and the next thing. And I really like the way that Francois does it. Let me make contact with Francois. So those are sort of the 5 things from a one-to-many strategy. So live webinars, online webinars, live online events, podcasts, client events, in person or virtual, and education, right? So you can even host workshops. So combine client event and education, make it a workshop. It's very, very powerful. I experienced that last week with a group of top advisors, again in Cape Town. And I found myself a lot in Cape Town the last 2 weeks. We did a workshop. I didn't present to them. They're at the top of their game. But all we did is we took them through a process to think about their business, to look at certain strategies, to start building new strategies, to say, well, we've been doing it very successfully this way. How can we bring a couple of things in and maybe take a couple of things out to tweak it? So I don't have to redesign it. I just have to tweak it. There's so much power. I mean, the conversations that happened in that room was absolutely incredible. We should be doing the same for our clients. In some advocacy strategies. So advocacy for me is much more powerful than referrals. Advocacy is all about people going out and telling other people about how amazing your business is without you asking them. However, we have to teach them how to do that. And we want to make sure that we show up consistently when they do tell others about us. And for me, the biggest way to sort of do this is obviously client experience. It's something you've got to spend a lot of time on, and making sure you're creating a great experience. Because when you're at a bride, somebody says, oh, we want to go and do something for fun. What are the things that you share with your clients? It'll be, or with your friends. It will be the things that really excited you, something where you had an experience, something that made you feel something good. You want to say, you had to go and do that. It was absolutely amazing. Now, you want people to do exactly that when they say, you know what, I've been having a tough time with my advisor, or, this year I've got to get in control of my money, or whatever they say, at an event or at a get together. People go like, hey, you have to talk to Chris. Like, this is why, and they know exactly what to say. That's the important part. So you want to turn existing clients. So you've got to do this with existing clients. Referrals you can get from people you've just helped for the first time and you don't know them well. But advocates has to be existing clients because there's a relationship, there's trust, there's experience, there's proof. So all of those things are important. So think about how you do that. The other one is write an ebook. It doesn't have to be 150 pages or 300 pages or something like that. And I say ebook specifically, not because ebooks are cool, but because it's free and cheap to do. So just write down, now just think about this. You do that ebook, or you do the webinar, or you do the events, or you do any of those things, you already have the content. You just need to put it into a document that you can then make available. And you can give these things away for free. There's a lot of value in this. Daniel Priestley talks a lot about it. Doesn't even matter if they read the book or not. They value the fact that they got a book, right? So obviously First Prize would be able to print these things and give them a physical copy. But at the end of the day, it's that. So start off with something small, something simple that you can maybe write something about. Maybe it's 10, 15, 20 pages. It doesn't have to be that much. And then you make it available and do the next one, the next one. Tomorrow you put all of that into one book, and then you have, like, I mean, it's just endless. But books create advocacy as well. And books work when you don't even know where those books land up and who sees them. So it's really, really powerful. The last advocacy strategy, again, goes back to all the things that we can do in one-to-many strategies. Once we've done them, specifically the online stuff, we have digital assets. What is an asset? An asset is something that works for you even when you don't. So how do we use all of this? Think about all our 248 episodes here on Propulsion Live. Think about all of the training content we've done in Propulsion. Think about all of these things. They keep on working and adding value to people. And I don't have to do it again because it's there. If I choose to do it again, I choose to do it again. But it's there, right? So those are the three things that you can do. There's many other things. But one, look at your existing clients. How are we sort of equipping and enabling them to be advocates for us? Think about writing an ebook or a book. Doesn't have to be an ebook. And then create digital assets that can work for you, that you can have out in the world from that point. 2 bonus strategies. I've already spoken about some of these. The first one is speaking. Are you getting up in front of groups to go and speak? Doesn't matter where, doesn't matter who, just do it. Just get out there. Yesterday, somebody in the session said, you know what, don't even care about who you're talking to. But if you can get up and talk to groups of people, you never know what happens with that. So speaking. So again, going back to the one-to-many strategies, but speaking is a very powerful thing. Don't be shy. Just go and do it. The other thing is getting on radio. It's easier than you think it is. I spoke to Nduduzi Letuli. He was on radio a lot. And a couple of years back, we had sort of a coffee, and I was asking him about this. And we even interviewed him on the podcast back then to talk about exactly to get onto TV. He was also on TV. And it's not so difficult, right? Because people are looking for sources of information. People are looking for people that they can work well with. Why can't you be that person? But you've got to build your contacts in that space and then see if you do that. It's something that if you're on radio, just this person must know what they're talking about. It just comes without saying. So there's a lot of power there. Plus, they have a massive audience. If you start a podcast, you've got to build your audience first, which takes a long time sometimes. So those are the 2 bonus strategies. My last thing I want to sort of share with you are the keys for success. What are the things you've got to do? Doesn't matter which one of these strategies or which 2 or 3 of these strategies you're choosing. How do you make sure that it's successful? Well, one, you've got to personalize. You've got to know who you're talking to. You've got to know information about them. You must have done research to them. Make sure that the information, not only the information you present, but the way you present it is relevant to the people that you're talking to. Be very clear on who you are talking to, because otherwise you're going to be talking to no one. So personalize, customize, make sure that it's very clear. And then consistency. Consistency is absolutely key. That's what made the show successful, is because we're consistent with the show. And consistency in many areas, right? The quality, the frequency, what we're talking about, who we're talking to, all of that kind of stuff. Promoting the show, you've got to be consistent in all the areas of that. But whatever of these things, of these strategies that you are doing, you've got to be consistent and get feedback and improve. That's what it's all about. And then the big thing, if you go back to my five one-to-many strategies, the one thing that the live webinars do, the live events, the podcasts, the client events, and the education, there's one golden thread that runs through them. And that is that they all provide value first. So you're giving value, and then funny things happen when you expect nothing in return. So it's really, really powerful from that point. So those are the strategies. So choose which ones of these are going to work for you. Maybe just choose one and go with that and see what happens from a lead gen perspective. I'm on the one-to-many strategy train. I think it works much better, and you get much more bang for your time. So that's my thoughts on lead gen. So looking forward to looking at your comments in the chat in a bit. I like this question from Vivian saying that, sorry, I know we're a little bit over time, but Vivian's asking, how can you incorporate entertainment into your content? That very much depends on your personality. Oops, moved up there, sorry. So it depends very much on how comfortable you are doing that, but you could, depending on the topic, you could decide to make it funny. I mean, think about what Capital Legacy did with their Wills ads and how that has won awards because they made a story out of it, but they also made it funny at the same time, because as humans, we like to laugh at ourselves most of the time. So as long as you're generic and you're not getting into one, you can characterize somebody, but you can't say, my client Francois, you can't do that, but you can absolutely do that. So it just depends on, how do you turn these things into stories? So instead of saying, like, this is how tax works, turn it into a story. And then turn it into a funny story if you can. And that's the way that you can make it entertaining. There's a lot of stuff that goes with that as well. But I would say that's my thing. Righty, so thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back next week, same time, same. I hope, because next week I am moving. So I honestly hope that my fiber is installed. It is set to be installed before I get that side. But we'll be back next week, same time, same place. Doesn't matter what happened. Have a fantastic weekend. Thank you very much for joining us, and stay safe, be blessed, and prosper. Continue to raise the bar and go get your Propulsion Tech tickets. And I will see you next week. Thank you so much. Love you. Bye-bye.